And welcome back to Madrid, Spain, and the third place decider between Misfits Gaming and Team Vitality. Misfits Gaming struck first, picking up game one in this best of 5. Definitely leading the way was Maxlore and Mikyx, establishing everything for Hans Sama to bring it home. Deficio, coming into game 2, Misfits had side selection. They picked red side. Are you a little surprised by that? Do you think that's a good call? Give them some counter picks as well?
I think if they went blue again, they probably expected a Rakan ban. And then they're like, oh, okay, maybe that was one of the big blue side advantages for them. Because the goal is still the same. You want to get the superior 2v2 bot lane matchup, and you want to get a strong jungle matchup. And that's what you can do on red side with counter picks.
Yeah, we actually thought coming into the series, red side was going to be the preferred option. So seeing that here is a good sign. Now, Misfits stuck with the Olaf ban, the Draven ban, and the Thresh ban in the first set. And I wonder if they still want to take those champions off the table, even though picks like Urgot now would be expected to be banned on red.
Yeah, I think a key part about the Draven ban was that Misfits were looking at that Xayah-Rakan combo, and we know a lot of Draven players will take that matchup and say, fine, we play the Draven against your Xayah. So now that they can't get the combination because Rakan is already banned, they probably don't have to ban away Draven.
And it's funny too, because we know both these supports have those comfort, those niche picks that they love to make plays on. So of course the Thresh taken away from Jactroll as well goes into this idea that both teams want to limit the playmaking opportunities of either support.
Now I want to mention Urgot. Just as I mentioned him, he gets banned away.
Great timing, Deficio.
We needed to see if Vitality wanted to first pick this champion, or if they had to ban it even on blue side. Now that is obviously a bit of a problem for them, that they have to always spend a ban on this champion. Misfits will then actually remove the Draven, just saying, you know what, that bot lane without Draven Thresh are not gonna win.
Well, taking a look at Attila, he's played 3 Draven games, he's 2-1. Hans Sama is currently 4-0. And Alistar went unpicked and unbanned in game 1. It is now locked in for Jactroll.
And you know what? I needed this.
You needed it.
I said this last game, I don't want more drafts where the Joker is Jactroll. You know, oh, look at our surprise. Jactroll has a pocket pick. Ah, it's useless. No. Alistar is something he's played a ton of. It's something he's good at. Get him on a comfort pick. Now, if you want to surprise people in the draft, give me a surprise jungle pick for Kikis or something instead.
Yeah, now, the Braum here for Misfits. Trevor, you brought this up in the last draft, how this was such a high priority during playoffs. We didn't see it in the last one, but now that the Rakan has been banned away from Mikyx, he's going to be on something that is going to be a little bit more defensive here for Hans Sama.
The only question is it the trap card? And because of the 14 games that it has played, it has a 42% win rate. We'll find out if it is or is not. Attila, after seeing some of the AD carry bans, has now locked in the Kai'Sa, and Vitality got a few seconds left to go.
Now, Vitality missed one ban in this phase. They took away the Malzahar in game 1. Third pick option for Misfits could easily be that champion.
Don't
play with the heart,
Sencux. I always want you to play Aurelion Sol. I think it is a fantastic pick for you. Sadly, it was just a harbor for now, and it is probably the same top lane matchup as last game. Cabochard Top Sion was actually pretty good, so I fully understand why Vitality wants to grab it again, but Alphari on Cho'gath
was even better. He was solo killing people, turning 1v2s straight around. Now, for Vitality with this Sion, I want to see them utilize it a little bit better, because they tried to roam him into the bot lane a few times, weren't able to lock down and find those big plays. Now, taking it back for a second round, pairing it up with the Alistar, there's a lot of heavy engage for them to force team fights.
Both junglers not shown anything yet, and we kept saying this going into the game. The jungle matchup is so important for the early game. We know Vitality cannot win without Kikis doing well early on, and we know Maxlore wants to take the fight against him. Graves being banned away. Will Misfits grab their mid laner and last pick jungle for Maxlore? It is an option.
It is indeed, and my question is, what will Jiizuke play? The Rise is already taken off the table. Galio is still up and available to him. His Syndra, first pro game in the previous match, it simply wasn't good enough. And my question is, what will he be playing? The Syndra is banned away. Misfits Gaming respecting it, but it leaves the Galio up.
Yeah, now Vitality actually banned the Galio away from themselves in the last game, but they're not going to ban it this time around. Now, both these champions have liked picks that can leave the middle lane like the Galio. So if Misfits actually did want to save counter pick for Maxlore, I think that the Galio could be a very safe option to go for right here.
Could also Lulu again, which is what they did in the last game. And I said we don't really care about what we can
We've
face
got about
the mid lane.
Malzahar.
Good old Malzahar is back for the Void King. Sencux in the mid lane. He doesn't care about dropping down 20 CS in lane because he has a suppression ulti. And that's really useful.
Yeah, it is indeed. 2-0 on the champions so far. 0-7-13. And it suits his playstyle.
It definitely suits his playstyle. And again, it allows Maxlore to get the counter pick. Kikis, what do you want to blind pick? Oh, Zilean mid lane. We NA now, boys.
Now, do they go Kindred too? This is the combo from NA that enables super aggressive junglers. Again, when I was in NA back in week 9, I talked to the teams. They said that when you have a jungler that loves to go in and invade like Kikis does so consistently, having the revive from a Zilean and the ability to keep himself up with the Kindred ult is so powerful.
Oh, you played this in solo queue a lot. You played so much.
He's playing with my heart.
No!
Okay, that's cool too.
I'll take it. I will take it. Okay, so Jiizuke, first Zilean of summer, and on the other side, first Evelynn. Gentlemen, please break down what these two team compositions want to do. You've already touched on Vitality's very aggressive counter jungling.
Now, Misfits, they come online at level 6 because Evelynn doesn't get the stealth until she reaches that point. Malzahar is going to lose lane until he gets that ultimate, but once that happens, Jiizuke is going to have to be so careful in the mid lane because Maxlore is going to come out of nowhere, he's going to be suppressed, and he's going to be instantly burst down. And that's such a powerful duo if they can make it to that point.
Yeah, it's such an interesting pick here, the Evelynn, because when we started the spring split, a lot of the teams back then were kind of hyping up Evelynn in solo queue, saying this champ just scales so well. If you get ahead on Evelynn in the jungle, you build a ton of AP, you just start one-shotting people left and right, but it never really succeeded on stage.
Yeah, it sucked in pro play, Deficio.
It really sucked in pro play, but now it's back. And if you're looking at the lanes, like other than mid lane, it doesn't really have anything you can get fed off. Like it's not like you go to the bottom lane very easily with the Braum Ezreal. So I really want to see how Maxlore wants to play the game here. But we know late game team fighting on the side of Vitality with Kindred, Zilean, and then the Kai'Sa. The late game insurance of a Kai'Sa who cannot die when she's dancing around because of Kindred and Zilean. That is insane.
It's crazy too because last game it was so much about the early game. Now they're scaling options.
Hold that thought really quickly. Drakos is standing by with Yamatocannon.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am joined by Yamatocannon. Now, Yamato, I gotta know, it was a tough loss in the first game. What is the focus coming here into game 2?
I think the main thing we noticed in the first game that Misfits prepared a lot of things into our favorite picks, and it was just a warm-up game for us. It's time to bring our A game. We wanted to save things in case, you know, we're going to go to Worlds, we need to save our picks, so now we busted out the big guns.
All right, final question. Were you prepared for the Evelynn pick? Is the team ready for it?
Of course, no worries. Played a lot of solo queues, saw a lot of venting with Evelynn. I'm not worried.
All right, not worried at all. Good to hear from you, Yamato. Back to you guys at the desk.
I love that. Seated in solo queue, a lot of inting. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game 2 in the third place decider. I have a quick stat for you. The last time we saw Evelynn in the EU LCS was week 1 of the spring split, played by none other than Kold, who is on the Analyst desk.
First picked by the Unicorn to love in that game.
Do you remember how it went?
It went so bad that we never saw it again.
I was watching at home and I literally messaged you, Quickshot, and said, I don't know why they're first picking Evelynn, they are trolling.
Now, that was what feels like an eternity ago. It is 100% loss in the 2018 season in EU. Do you like the pick now?
Well, I'm not going to answer that yet, because you see how he plays it, but I will tell you why he's picking it in this draft. What we have on the side of Misfits is Cho'gath in one side lane, and what's most likely going to be Sencux also looking to look for 1v1 duels later on in the game. And when you try and split up the map, Evelynn, because she's so hard to track and because she has so much burst damage against these targets, she will surprise you in the side lanes. And you're never feeling safe in the lane where Sencux is at, knowing that Maxlore can show up. So if you want to break what is a super strong 5-on-5 teamfight comp, you gotta split up the map and you gotta look for picks.
And you want to find picks where the Zilean isn't and the Kindred isn't too, because having those revives against the solo potential of this Evelynn is a big issue for Maxlore.
All right, talking about some big issues. In the previous game, Mikyx himself on that recon was gigantic. Mikyx and Hans Sama have started this game by going to steal away that Rift Scuttler. Hans Sama gets the gold, and you can see some of the early game impact that Mikyx has. Kills plus assists at 15, first in the league. Kill participation, highest for his role.
Now, I love the fact that he goes into the Scuttle Crab too, because in game 1, he paired up with Maxlore to make these plays early on and steal away camps. Now, Maxlore went for a very interesting route where he went for the Krug camp second for that bonus EXP.
Yeah, it's important to highlight, Evelynn is really weak in the start. Like, it's terrible. You don't really want to do anything. So they knew Kindred might actually be able to get double Rift Scuttler, she might be able to invade him, and that's why the bot lane could go up and secure one on bottom side, but Kikis also knew he could invade. Maxlore is just trying to play as passive as possible because he doesn't really want to do anything yet.
Yeah, and he totally actually skirted around the vision there of Kikis. Kikis put a deep ward on top of that Raptor camp. You even saw Sencux put a ward there himself to make sure that camp was not stolen away. And now Maxlore, I think, actually goes down either to gank bottom lane or take the Krug camp, just kickstart his way towards that level 6 point.
Can they do something? They have Braum with the exhaust to set it up. Maxlore looking for a play.
Oh, take a look at this. It's role reversal. Flash for flash. Not going to find the target, though. But Mikyx still gets Attila's flash.
Yeah, that's the big trade. We actually saw a very similar play back in game 1, but flipped. Now Maxlore has the chance to get 2 Krug camps. Now, Krug camps are worth more EXP than the other camps. Think of them as about a camp and a half worth. So just 2 of those is the equivalent of 3 camps on the side of Kikis, and it's so good on such a bad champion in the early game.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Kikis, while this gank happened, was actually checking to see if Maxlore's camp was up on the top side, but he didn't get anything.
Yeah, it wasn't.
There was nothing for him, so Maxlore didn't even lose anything and still managed to get a flash bot side and another camp. That's actually a great play.
And even when Kikis went for the invade, he just put down a ward, so he left those Raptor camps, so Maxlore has the perfect early game here on this Evelynn.
But gentlemen, game 1, Maxlore Goomba stomped Kikis. He really stepped up and had a fantastic performance. It's a champion that we're a little surprised to see the Evelynn, but it's a very good start to the game. So Ender, you know, should we expect a similar level of stomping on the Maxlore sides?
I don't think we can, because again, up until level 6, you don't have the ability to actually scrap and fight with the enemy jungle. I do have to point out too that Kikis did steal away some of the minions in that Raptor camp, so he left a few there to make Maxlore feel a little bit bad when he goes and discovers that one.
Well, Kikis not able to carry in the last game. Was not able to carry against Schalke. Now with this Kindred pick again locked in for him. Seeing an Evelynn on the other side that he's not scared of in the early game. He's actually not able to get an experience lead because Maxlore got that camp on bottom side.
Yeah, it feels so good, man, too, when your bottom lane has priority and the Scuttle Crab, the RNG sends it bot side, too, because he gets to deny another mark from Kikis that he did such a good job of in game 1.
And Inferno Drake just got started here by Maxlore. He's going to take quite some damage against it, but there's no vision right now.
So no real threat. Maxlore should be able to secure this one unless Kikis decides to go south. Doesn't do so, and look, Maxlore backs away, realizing the risk. Important to point out, in that previous game, Kikis only got his first passive stack on Kindred around 17 minutes. Now, the game only lasted 30 minutes long. Maxlore was running Dark Harvest. He got 180 stacks on that Dark Harvest towards the end of the game. So I want to track what level of impact Kikis is going to have this time around.
Well, right now, he didn't manage to invade topside and get the Crux camp that just spawned because he was spending time sitting around mid lane. Jiizuke gets the push. Oh, forces the flash right there. Would have been a double bomb.
Now, Sencux just getting bullied in this mid lane. He's trying to farm, but he's only on 24 minions. This is sort of the price you have to pay on the Malzahar until you hit level 6. Then you have kill threat, but Jiizuke also ticked over.
All right, take a look at this. Sencux is going to get died. Nether Grot,
Oh,
very
tanking.
good onto Kikis. Kikis will get the Chrono Shift. First blood picked up by Kikis.
Maxlore's
Chrono
coming.
Shift is going to drop the tower aggro, but Maxlore's got no access to his ultimate. The Caress is not there.
And that was perfect from Kikis too. They get the kill right before Kikis goes down. So when he revives, there's no kill, there's no turret aggro to lock him down.
And take a look at this. Jiizuke and Kikis are working together. Mid-jungle synergy to get first blood, to push Sencux back, to get the flash away from Maxlore. And just as we're getting excited, all of a sudden, Mickey's going to hop over the wall. He's looking for Jactroll. Got 2 stacks, looking to see if he can steal something away. That Bank Vault skin. And I'm hearing an ultimate coming down from Cabo, but that's just to the top lane. I held my breath for a moment, knowing how important these bot lanes are for both teams.
Will be harder for Mikyx to carry this game because he's on the Braum, not the Rakania, so they're losing quite some playmaking. A lot of the focus is going to be around Sencux and his ulti, and obviously he will still be there even though he's behind, but man, this lane is tough for him, and This combination of Kindred and Zilean, again, we know it's only getting stronger the further we go into the game.
Yeah, and Kikis was also able to steal away a red buff there from Maxlore. Jiizuke has complete control over this middle lane, so it's actually free reign now for Kikis to go bot side and pick up a mark. Oh, so nice.
Yeah, really nicely done. Jiizuke 52 CS to 27. And you can see how he combos with Kikis to pick up first blood here.
Yeah, Sencux, again, he wants it level 6 underneath this wave, but Jiizuke lands the slow to force the flash away from the second bomb on Sencux. And even though Kikis is only level 4, Jiizuke has 6, so he's able to actually revive Kikis, even though Kikis was locked underneath the tower. And with that final kill going down, Kikis doesn't return aggro when he picks back up.
Yeah, and of course, at the end of that fight, they also got the flash away from Sencux. And I think it's fitting to talk a little bit about Jiizuke because during the regular season, this is a guy that is one of Europe's best mid laners, but in the playoffs in spring and in his semifinals last weekend, I wondered if he had an anti-playoff buff. I wondered if Jiizuke struggled to show up. Now, Syndra in game 1 had me asking the same questions. You can see the playoff stats, -8 CSD, a lower damage percentage in regular season, but he's showing up now on the Zilean, his first ever competitive game stage.
I would have bought in to the anti-playoff buff if you told me that yesterday. But if you're telling me that today, after his performance in game 1, now the Zilean already has a kill. He's looking very, very good at the start of this series. Now he just has to follow through if Vitality want to come away with 3rd place.
I think it's also based on the kind of picks he's playing in playoffs. Vitality, they tend to put him on just pure roaming in these big games. Remember the Talia spam in spring? It was almost every single game he played Talia.
Yep.
Now, here in summer, we've seen the Galio, the Talia pick as well on his side. But this series, because he's against Sencux, who is the weakest mid laner out of all the ones he's actually played in these best of 5s, they're putting him on champions where he can be more of a carry. Now, obviously, Zilean is going to be very supportive, but it's a champion that can win lane against what Sencux is picking. And that's the difference, because what Jiizuke normally will do in the playoff game is he will leave his lane probably 10 times, give up multiple minion waves just to try and gank top and bot lane. He didn't do it on Syndra.
Yeah.
He's not doing it on Zilean because he's focused on trying to just beat Sencux. So we're seeing for the first time a pick and ban phase and a strategy from Vitality in playoffs where it's about Jiizuke actually staying in his lane.
Well, let's see what he can do. How far ahead can he get? 83 CS to 55. Getting some more support now from Kikis, who's about to show up. Nethergot's actually interrupted. Sencux turns it back around for the time bombs, putting all the damage down. Sencux forced to run for his life, and the chrono shift keeps Kikis up. You can see the burst that Sencux and Maxlore have.
There's so much burst, but even when Kikis goes down, he's going to come back up with the Lamb's Respite. So Misfits can't stick around to fight, but Maxlore can wait to figure out if Kikis is going to go for this crab, because Mikyx is here to support.
It's important to highlight that Maxlore actually safely got past the early game. It's at a point now with the ulti where, as you highlighted before, we see some of the damage. Did not get it from Ansama's side. Stack, I believe, for Kikis right there. Two stacks on his side.
Significantly better than game 1.
Twice as good.
Definitely a record here in this series for Kikis, getting 2 stacks by 10 minutes.
Definitely something that's helping out on the Vitality side. They've got that 1,200 gold lead. Big CS advantage in the mid lane. We saw the gold a little moments ago, but it's just, it's what Vitality needed to do because they are a confidence team. They are a emotional momentum team, and we've seen that many times this year already. And every time I see Alphari starting to hammer down anybody, I just wait to go, does he have enough damage to kill? Because Alphari seems to always have enough damage to kill.
Yeah, now you're talking about having enough damage to kill. I want to actually look at Maxlore here, because this is the pick, the Evelynn, that totally surprised us, threw us off guard, and we were initially very excited about it. But the more I look at it, the more I question, who can he actually kill on the side of Vitality? Because top lane is a tank, you have the revive in the mid lane, the jungle, and then Attila has pretty good self-heal as well, so it becomes very difficult, I think, to actually find the picks he's looking for.
I'm just really looking at the later we go into the game, him just constantly hovering around the lane Sencux is in. Whenever Sencux goes to a side lane, Maxlore sits on that side, and whoever tries to 1v1 the Malzahar gets ulted and Maxlore will kill him. We just saw a preview of it a minute ago in the mid lane. Sadly for them, Kikis was there to counter gank instantly, and it didn't work. But that damage will kill a person doing the Malzahar ult when Evelynn and Malzahar combine everything they have.
Oh, so let's see the coordination and how this team fights play out. Deficio, a couple of minutes away from that, but look at the itemization differences here. Misfits, a little bit defensive start, Merc Treads and the Mask for Alphari, but you've got the Ceres being stacked towards by Jiizuke, no boots yet, relying on that E movement speed. And of course, Rage Blade already picked up by Attila. This is the Kikis that Vitality love to see, pushing all the way forward. Here comes Jactroll, gets the headbutt and the pulverize. Alphari continues to run for his life. Ignite thrown down means Alphari forced to flash for his life, but look at Vitality, uncontested in the bottom lane tower. This will be the second tower of the game going their way.
But at the same time, Misfits are starting up Rift Herald on the top side of the map. This is they're going to try to use to knock down a tower or another second tower here to get some much needed gold for Misfits, because the mid game, I feel like, is where they can really come online and try to find fights.
Oh, Vitality, they're moving in here. Alistar's already here. Zilean and Kindred on the way. 4 big members on the side of Vitality.
No ultimate available for Cabo though, but he doesn't even need it. Manages to go for the decimating splash and look at the headbutt pulverize. Jactroll not able to kill Mikyx just yet. Mikyx once again escapes with his life. Here comes Maxlore. He's trying to chase him down on the sides. There's a fight on multiple fronts. Hans stand up. It's a double bomb from Jiizuke, and the second one takes him out. Alphari's now in trouble. Knocked inside the pit. No flash, and Vitality find 2 more.
If Misfits can't find a pick, can't burst someone down at the start, Vitality will come away with the fight in the long run.
And of course, fans here in Madrid saying Misfits are choking. I think that was what their hand signal was saying. Choke, ladies and gentlemen. But Vitality, 3 kills to 0, 3,000 gold up. And they've got themselves that Rift Herald as well.
And I really want to mention what happened here. Misfits lane swapped and said, we will trade the bot lane turret that we're going to lose anyway for a Rift Herald and a turret on top side. We saw the ulti from Hansama killing the caster minions bot lane. What Vitality then said is, we don't care about bot lane turret, we're just gonna run straight to top side because we know we can stop this play.
And then Vitality literally got everything. It starts with this team fight right here, and you'll notice Sencux is not in a good position. He's in the middle of 4 people, so he can't actually lock down the ultimate, and the Zilean is able to make Maxlore not that relevant in this fight.
And we saw right here, if Sencux had just ulted onto Jiizuke, Maxlore could have gotten a kill onto Jactroll. But they didn't get to combine the 2 things, which meant that Jiizuke snuck the ulti over the wall and ended up staying alive.
And you zoom out after the end of that play, well, Misfits are trying to trade towers. Vitality have 1, Misfits have none. Then they tried to sneak away the Rift Herald. Vitality ended up picking that up as well. So the early game is wildly in favor of Vitality, and that will give Vitality fans so much faith for the closing of this match.
Another great thing for them, we mentioned how, with the ulti from Malzahar onto a Zilean, you can try and kill him before he can use his own ulti. There's a QSS now on Jiizuke's side. So that's not happening anymore. He will always be able to ult himself and buy time for the rest of the team to show up.
I think the best news for Vitality is the fact that they have the scaling advantage too. They've got a Kai'Sa, Zilean to just keep this Kai'Sa alive. So it's up to Misfits now to try and force plays. Even then, though, Vitality are still going to be grouping up and making some of their own.
Because it's important to highlight, whenever we have seen this Zilean Kindred combination, the first 10-15 seconds of a fight, it's so hard to beat Zilean Kindred. Yeah. That's where they have the ultis. That's where they get you back to life. You keep trying to wait for them to disappear and then try and kill a target, but they're still dealing damage to you. Once you get past the 2 big ultis, if you have stayed alive for long enough, then you can try and win.
And that's the concern for me, is that Misfits have a lot of upfront bursts. Their ultimates from a Malzahar and the Evelynn as well, and even the Cho'gath are very good at instantly taking down people, but Vitality drafted perfectly to counter that strategy as Kikis comes down around from behind.
Trying to find a target. Hansama has already used the E to escape, holding on to his flash for now. Mikyx buying some time with that Unbreakable, and will actually buy enough time. No summoner spells used on the sides of Misfits. And that side lane matchup that you were expecting to see a little bit earlier, Deficio, has played out exactly.
Yeah, and again, I'm waiting. You can already see Maxlore on the minimap was hovering to top side, being ready to make that play I mentioned earlier, but they're so far down that they're probably never getting time to actually do it, because when you're putting 2 members top, no one can defend bot lane.
And of course, when Rift Herald was picked up in that team fight win earlier, it was Attila that picked it up. He's thrown it down in the bottom lane. It's already secured the inner turret, and it's got a very big boop onto that inhibitor turret. Kikis is at 3 stacks. We're not even 17 minutes into the game. It's 3 times better than his Kikis performance in game 1. And as it stands, Vitality have just spun this series on its head. They've done to Misfits what Misfits did to them.
It's a complete U-turn from game 1, where it's Vitality dominating the early game and actually giving themselves better options to scale into the late game.
Here we
but
go.
Actually, this is the side lane play Deficio's been talking about all game.
Cabochard's got flash available.
What a play!
And that unstoppable onslaught.
Great play.
It was a phenomenal potential setup, okay?
Phenomenal potential.
Yes, phenomenal potential, but it just didn't pay off yet.
The worst part is that the only person person he can actually go for is going to be Cabochard if he's trying to team up with Sencux, because now it's not just Jiizuke with the QSS, but it's also Attila.
Yeah, and really a big problem for Misfits is normally when they pick Malzahar and accept they're going to lose lane, they have a winning lane somewhere else. But they drafted the Ezreal on the bottom side, so they're not looking to win that lane super hard. It's a tank v tank matchup on top side, and that is scaling jungler. So Misfits in the early game didn't really have anywhere to play around, didn't have anyone else who could pick up the slack.
Here we go.
Well, here comes Mikyx. He's instantly headbutted away. Now, they didn't commit a huge amount, but the ultimate's there for Hansama and Mikyx. Not going to do a whole lot, and even if that had worked out, Jiizuke still had the Chrono Shift available.
Now, Misfits, when they went from being this team that went 9-0 at the start of the split, started losing the majority of their games in the second half, it's largely because they stopped doing what was working for them. These drafts that played so much around bottom lane, early priority junglers for Maxlore. So it's a little confusing and worrying now to see them go from a game one that worked so wonderfully for them, change things up to this draft that wants to sit back a little bit more and not have that same level of early aggression.
And we'll just see how well they figure it out. As Attila's Kai'Sa was pushing the top lane, there was support there from Jactroll and Kikis to flank. It's going to be a swap of lanes. And while both teams are pushing respectively on the towers, Misfits, they are still playing from behind.
I gotta give credit to Cabochard here. He's constantly aware that he's the target. So whenever Maxlore hasn't shown for a while, he plays super passive. He walks away in the bottom lane, so Maxlore can't find any side lane ganks.
There's also a big issue here. Misfits are hard committing for the
now,
counter
here we
dive.
go, the
Double
stun!
teleport, that's a very good stun onto Maxlore.
Oh, look
the
at
tower
top
is still
lane.
the focus, but Vitality, they're going to go for the base. They're already pushing up into the top lane. Hansama and Maxlore are so incredibly low. They've got a minion wave to work with, and the tower is still standing.
And I mean, if you're trying to trade towers, you don't want to give up on the inhibitor.
Oh, definitely not the case. Cabochard now the
He's
focus.
actually dying.
He's got so much damage in a 2v4. Jiizuke and Cabochard, they turn it around. Finally, the tower goes down, but Vitality don't care. Before 20 minutes on the
Here's
clock,
the turn.
they're on the inhibitor. Cabochard now survives the Nethergrass. He has to re-engage. Chrono Shift is buying some time.
And Cabochard just got a kill. They're still on Jiizuke.
It's not done yet. Vitality, they are continuing the push. The Nexus turret's on the focus.
What is going on? They're diving the tower. They're looking for the win.
Mickey's running for his life, and Lamb's Respin is still available if Vitality need it. If any fight breaks out, they still have time.
Maxlore just recalled, but he's alone against 3 players.
But look at this. Hansama's still being chased. Vitality are on the
Alphari's
second
alive now.
Nexus tower. Can they do it? Quickshot.
Alphari's gonna try saying no. He's pushing forward. The Nexus turret has already dropped. 20 minutes into the game, and Misfits, they are under so much pressure.
Vitality, they knew. Okay, Sencux is respawning as well. Alphari just respawned, managed to move in with Maxlore. Both Nexus turrets gone. Top inhib gone. And we just hit 20 minutes. That's Jiizuke. He's excited. He's not showing it right now, but on the inside, trust me, he's happy.
That is the face of a killer. 2, 1, and 3. Him plus Cabo defended this bottom tower.
I mean, we can watch this replay, but there's so many different things going on at this. It's a double teleport at the start, and Misfits, they're trying to get kills, they're trying to get gold, but there's still 3 members of Vitality on the top side of the map, and even if they get these kills, it's just not going to be worth it.
Exactly, and Jiizuke has played so well in this game here. He's the one, stuns Maxlore, kills the minion wave before the TPs arrive, and now they know Zilean ulti is there. They can't actually kill anyone.
And like Mikyx's top lane, he's like, what am I supposed to do? Starts running towards the bottom lane fight, starts running back top. He's not with the team. The rest of the team tried to force this, and they can't just leave because they're going to be run down. So they look for the kills and can actually only trade 1 for 1. Face of a killer.
That is phenomenal. And that is an exceptional reaction from an exceptional mid lane. I wondered if the anti-playoff buff was a thing, and Jiizuke's telling me get stuffed, Trev. 21 minutes in, Vitality are 8,000 gold up, and just before they start Baron, I need to remind you what the stakes are for Vitality. If they win against Misfits, they need Fnatic to win if they want to go to Worlds. Of course, they can still win through the regional qualifier, but Vitality, with so much on the line, are trying to even up this series. Baron continues to be the focus. It is dropped to 3,000 hit points. Misfits looking for an engage. Glacial Pressure goes down. Here comes Vitality. Mikyx jumps to safety.
Attila!
Taken down. Attila jumps forward. Flashes back over the wall. Kikis gets another. 2 members of Misfits are down. They've got no
Cabo.
Nexus turrets remaining. Cabochard comes in the backside. Gets a
going in!
Smash. Now Sencux and Hansama, they get caught by the unstoppable onslaught, and Sencux gets booped backwards. It's a triple kill for Kikis.
And there's no towers protecting this Nexus. Hansama goes down for the Quadra.
And that is it at 22 minutes and 7 seconds as Vitality starts smashing the Nexus. Now they're going to go for the
They're
dive
diving
as well.
again!
They are going for the dive.
They're trying to get the
Kill
Penta
goes
again.
to Attila. They have 15 seconds to set a new summer split record, and they are going to do it. The quickest win in summer. Vitality take down Misfits.
Second time to get a quadra and to try and dive for a pentakill. They didn't get it for Kikis, but they got the win. And what a turnaround from game one.
Yeah, at least they stayed alive to take down the base. Such a change from Jiizuke in the mid lane, from Kikis out of the jungle. You know what? Yamatocannon said that was just a warm-up. They had those counter picks they had prepared. Well, now it's Vitality in the position, and they tie things up.
Vitality have it all to play for. Misfits will be in the regional qualifier gauntlet no matter what. Seeding is at stake here. For Vitality, if they win this series, Fnatic win tomorrow, Vitality book that ticket to Worlds. Another quick update for you, 10 seconds quicker than the fastest win in summer. At 22-28 seconds, Vitality obliterated Misfits.
Yeah, there are so many good things from how they approached this draft here. They stepped away from the fancy, unique support picks. They said, Alistar first pick, there we go. We know that's good. We don't need to play around bot lane now. We can actually focus somewhere else. And it was mid lane. It was trying to target Sencux. And Misfits, they drafted scaling everywhere. And they lost in 22 minutes.
Yeah, Vitality punished that real hard with Kikis coming mid lane. When Jiizuke ticked over to 6, they dove that tower. And even though we said Jiizuke was on a supportive champion, he actually did by far the most damage in the game and carried his team for that win.
Exceptionally well played by Vitality. And this sets us up for one hell of a third place decider. I had wondered if that first game loss was going to put Vitality on tilt. Question is no. They bounced back. They had that the pick. Yamato said it himself. It was warm-up. They had to pull out the surprise picks. Don't hold anything back because Worlds is what they have their sights on. And all of a sudden, Deficio, now Misfits have to pivot.
Yeah, I mean, a quick change is in phase 2, you can ban away Zilean. Like, that was not a pick you were ready for.
Or just go back to what worked in game 1, draft some early priority, and try to crush Vitality early.
We'll find out what they decide to do for more of Vitality's winners. Head over to the analyst desk.
Well then, there we go. Jiizuke and Vitality will not go quietly into the night. They set the record for the now new fastest game or winning game in summer, and they completely obliterate Misfits. When you looked at the draft, was there any indication of the onslaught that would come from the side of Vitality?
A little. Not really, honestly. I think.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think the draft was very in favor of Vitality,
Yes.
but I didn't expect them to just roll over them in 20 minutes, hitting the Nexus at 20 minutes. I was like,
And I want to come back to a point you guys made at the ending of the last game. It's not necessarily about the draft, but it's the way you approach that early game and how you get the better or the worst of those early game trades. So did it really come down to Vitality being more in the moment and clear in those fights with these picks?
Well, I definitely think that the execution was a lot better from the side of Vitality this time around. The fact that they were able to execute on a lot of their early game plays was great to see, but I do also think that the draft was a big determining factor in this. Mainly because, for me, my biggest issue, well, I had two big issues. Number one is that we didn't see a winning bot lane for Misfits. I feel like that a team that often relies on getting this 2v2 ahead, the fact that they drafted Ezreal Braum, and allowing Vitality to then get the Kai'Sa Alistar gives them a winning 2v2 to the Vitality squad, makes things very difficult to find leads in that lane.
When you win a game as hard as Misfits won game 1 and it was all through the bot lane and early game might, why do you think they made this decision then?
maybe a little overconfident, but also they got away with a lot of stuff in game 1, honestly.
Yes.
I think let's talk about the obvious one, the Evelynn pick, because
that's the second thing, yes.
It's not a champion we get to see very often. As the casters brought up, I was the guy who played it the last time in the LCS, and one of the...
Similar success.
Yeah, we don't want to go into that one. But the strength of Evelynn is after level 6, where you actually have a lot of pressure around the side lanes, because if Evelynn is stealth, like, where is Evelynn? That's the question you ask yourself all the time. And I think in the current meta, where it's very teamfight heavy, I didn't like it that much. And then on the other hand, I think the Vitality comp where they have Zilean is like a huge counter to Evelynn, because you just want to burst one guy and then out, and you can't really do that against the Zilean.
And I guess on top of that, when you are on the support, picking that as well, it is just, yeah, it is harder as well.
And I also just think that, like, they're drafting in, like, tendencies, right?
Yeah.
They put a lot of priority on this Cho'gath, which makes sense in that Alphari is good at it, and it's a safe blind. But at the same time, as you talked about, if Evelynn was kind of the plan from the get-go, then you want to have strong side lanes. You want to have things you can play around. And if that's a Camille or something like that, then Evelynn has a couple more options now. She can go top lane earlier. They can play through mid. But Misfits drafted 3 losing lanes in the early game. Evelynn had very limited options as to where she could go. And there's a Kindred Zilean. So even if she tries to get kills, it's almost impossible, especially when mid lane is the only early lane she can go to.
That's what I was trying to get at with, like, in the bottom lane, when you know it's that strong, you're kind of putting yourself outside of the game, knowing that they're just trying to scale and they're also not winning the lane.
And while we criticize the Malzahar and the Evelynn combination a lot, the idea is actually there.
Yes.
You press R on Malzahar, you
go.
follow up with the Evelynn charm, and then you just one-shot one guy, but it's just completely countered by the Zilean. So I think they had the idea that this is what we are going for, and they didn't change up when Vitality picked the Zilean. And you know, it's not often we praise NA League of Legends, but I mean, for once they actually brought up a combination that was good. We saw it in C9, with C9 rising to the top with especially this composition where you play Zilean and you play the Kindred and you play super aggressive. So a lot of props for them to picking it up, and I'm glad to see it because it is so strong.
And it seemed to work perfectly for what Jiizuke wanted to do. Also in terms of jungle, Maxlore versus Kikis. Maxlore was amazing on his Graves in game 1, but now Kikis on the Kindred finds those kills that he needs in the early game.
And I love this execution because you'll note that Kikis takes tower aggro initially, but Jiizuke is level 6, which means that he's able to get the kill, he revives, they also have the Kindred ultimate up too, and everything about it is clean, it's well executed, and this is the kind of Vitality that was missing in game 1. So if they continue to perform like this and they start to bring out the big guns that they've apparently been hiding, Vitality now starting to look a lot more favorable in this.
Do you think in the game 2 they're now pressure to start, but like they were 1 game down, they know if they win here and Fnatic wins tomorrow, they go to Worlds, so they think, okay, right, now it's time. We're not hiding anything anymore.
I mean, it's definitely in the head. Like if they get to win the series and then yesterday they leave Madrid with a world spot, I mean, then you're gonna be a happy man, you know? So what I want to touch on a bit is that the fact that Yamato said we bring out the big guns, and I think we saw in the game that they actually practiced the Kindred and the Zilean because constantly Kikis was the aggressor. He was flashing in, he was playing aggressive, and then you follow up with the Zilean ultimate. And I think that is a lot of praise to the fact that they're actually bringing out new stuff, which they haven't shown in the semifinals. So.
But which they clearly have trained because the coordination is very important. So let's take a look at that fight that happened around Rift Herald where Misfits was trying to contest, but you see that they have the combo down.
And the thing about this is Misfits wanted to make this trade happen because they knew they were going to lose bot tower, and they thought, okay, if we lose bot tower and Drake, we can get a Rift Herald off this, but with their scaling picks with Ezreal, Evelynn, they couldn't take it fast enough. That allowed Vitality to then come in through the river, get this fantastic collapse, and this is where things start to end in disaster for Misfits, because a mid-game comp with Vitality where they've already got a 3,000 gold lead, they just rip through Misfits.
And it's so snowballing because when you play this composition, when Kindred can just walk forward and walk in the face of the enemy, and you can't really trade back, then you can just do whatever you want, and that's what we saw.
And that was also the name of the game for Vitality. They could do whatever they wanted. They played that split push game and destroyed Misfits base, brought to you by Acer Predator. Kills all over the map and an outplay by the Italian Stallion.
So this was great from the side of Vitality, but it was also horrendous
talk about
from
positive.
the side of
Just
Misfits.
kidding.
Because like the reality is like Misfits, they see Vitality see that there's a hard commit bot side, so they just run it down top. I like the decision-making from Vitality. But the execution here from Misfits, they're completely indecisive. They don't have the damage to kill Sion. Evelynn gets forced out of the fight initially because she takes a bomb damage while underneath the tower. They then, they stick around for so long, at this point, you just have to just leave. That they still go for the fight, trying to pick up extra kills, but you're losing your base. It was so bad to watch from Misfits.
Yeah, it was pretty indecisive. They also knew they had to pull the trigger somehow, and Vitality were so far ahead. But on the other hand, you don't expect anyone to win that 4v2 in the bottom lane, but Jiizuke did it.
I mean, they were just so far ahead, and I think the idea of trading something, and I mean, we have to talk about this guy. He had a phenomenal game, honestly, and if you sit on that stage and you make these kind of plays, and this is your reaction, I mean, you gotta love it.
I mean, we wanted him to bounce back. We were looking at him that could be an opportunity for Vitality going up against Sencux in some situations, and the Zilean worked perfectly for that because he had pressure and he could execute in the team fights, although there weren't many. They just finished really quickly.
And often a guy that is criticized for his lack of champion pool. We see him, they talk about it on the broadcast, that he plays Galio all the time, he plays Talia all the time, but he played Zilean this time and he actually played it very well.
Yes.
So a lot of I'm really happy to see that he's pulling out something new, because it's something we have been searching for. Like, what can you actually play? So good for him.
But the question is, what else is there? Now, if we tally up, we're going into game 3. We saw game 1 with Misfits really strong in the early game and not leaving any opportunity for Vitality to come back. And we saw Vitality doing the same thing in game 2. So we haven't really seen an even mid-game game yet. Are we going to see it in game 3? What is going to be the strategy?
I don't think that that's what this series is, because they're all about early game leads. Whichever team gets that early game lead just seems to hold control, because when you look at both Misfits and Vitality, they're not known for bouncing back after an early deficit. These are the teams that they get a slight gold lead and then they just snowball.
But who's better at it? I mean, historically, you'd say that Misfits is slightly better at bouncing back. So do they have better cards if it becomes closer?
I mean, Vitality is definitely more explosive, where Misfits, on the other hand, is more control when they get the lead. And I think that's the important part. You can't let Vitality get this much of a lead, because then they will just take everything, and then they will dive you under tier 2 and dive you under go to the Nexus towers and do whatever they want. So I think that's the most important part for me. You need to be able to control the mid and jungle better. I think Evelynn and Malzahar together are too weak. You cannot do this against a team like Vitality. So I think that is the core of the issues.
That's the core of the issues for Misfits. We will see what they do in game 3. There's a lot to fight for tonight. 3rd place and Vitality's chance for 2nd seed at Worlds on the line. We'll find out who takes the lead after the break.
It's time to bring our A game. We want to save things in case, you know, we're going to go to Worlds. We need to save our picks. So now we busted out the big guns.
But Jiizuke also ticked over.
All right, take a look at this. Sencux is going to get dived near the Grok. Very good onto Kikis. Kikis will get the chrono shift. First blood picked up by Kikis.
I love it.
Nice, man.
Don't show. No flash. He's fucking dead. No flash. Give the kill to Kai'Sa. Good job, baby. Nice. I go for
Cabochard now survives it near the Grok. He has to re-engage. Chrono shift is buying some time.
And Cabochard just got a kill. They're still on Jiizuke.
It's not done yet. Vitality, they are continuing the push. The Nexus turret's on the focus.
What is going on? They're diving the tower. They're looking for the win.
They have 15 seconds to set a new summer split record, and they are going to do it. The quickest win in summer. Vitality take down Misfits.
otherwise it's bad.